And now, everybody.
Off the island.
Math.
Damn it. Double D. That's like my second favorite part of this entire show is doing the little sound bites of Roxy, and it's for your segment, and you talked. Now I got to do it again because I want to hear Roxy talk.
I want to hear it again too.
I'm going to talk dirty to you for a second. Math.
All right, there we go. But yeah, go ahead and take it away, Dan. What do you got?
Okay, so first let me add to the stream. So, like we said, like Chris pointed out earlier, we don't have the schedule for June. So we're going to review May's point system, or my prediction for May, with all the factions going in the order of the faction rankings. So the first one up is the faction in first place, and that's the Dungeon. At the start of May, I said that they would be somewhere between 30 points and 55 points. 30 points is where they ended up in April. So they could go somewhere between there. They ended the match, they ended the month with 40 points. So there's a 15-point points that they left on the table for other factions to pick up. But that's still a commanding lead as of last night, but it's still good for them. The Quirky Mercs, even though they lost the teams tournament in April, they still had a large gap to gain points for May. I said that they would end up somewhere between 11 and 35. They end the month with 31 points. Then they're in second place. They just got that last night. Spoiler alert. So going off of those first two factions, what are you guys' thoughts on that? On the rankings?
The Mercs are they're I mean it's a lot of title matches and getting those big money points, but at the same time you gotta perform to get those big money matches. And Koi capitalizing off of drafting De Milanta, fully knowing he was going to get a title shot, and he beat my man Alex twice. And then Shazam being his first two picks off the board, or first two picks in free agency. I mean, he had great success last year. He's carrying over into this year, and the numbers are reflecting that. Like, look at the amount of points that they got just in the month of May alone. You know, that's more than probably some factions have gotten in the last two. You know what I mean? So we're going to see that. But the Dungeon, look at the Dungeon's roster again. Do we expect anything less? That's all I got to say from the Dungeon. What else should we expect?
Yeah, Chris, you're spot on with both of those comments. I think actually the Mercs, and I'm sure Double D, you're probably looking forward to the next month or two. The Mercs are in prime position to overtake this race quick.
Yeah, and as you're going to see in the next few matches, next few slides, it's really, the Dungeon really could have taken a gigantic lead, but they left 15 points on the table for other factions to get, and suddenly this race has become a 4-faction race. It's because the Finstock Machines, they were in second place for most of the month. They dropped down to third place, and at the beginning of May, I said that they started out with 18 points, but they could be anywhere between that and 40 points. They end the month with 29 points. Obviously, with Gold Leader winning his matches, I think, Ranger Rick won a few matches, and you obviously had the teams tournament winning a few with Roca and JT. They won a few matches, so they built up an 11-point gain, but obviously they left 11 points on the table as well. Corruption, they were not dead last, but they were getting towards the better, but they come up into fourth place. And like I said, the Quirky Mercs, they had a huge gap between starting with 10 points, and they can gain up to 39 points, but they end the month of May with 26 points. In fifth place, now this was not surprising because the Den in April lost the team tournament. The Outsiders lost their one and only match, and that was it. So they only had 2 matches for the month, and they only gained 3 points. So they end the month with 16 points. So what are your guys' thoughts about these the top 5 factions?
Dusty, you can start if you want, brother.
Yeah, again, this is my first show, so who knows how much it's been spoken on here. But I think if the Finstock Exchange can legit land in the top 3 factions this year with the draft he's had and the new people he's brought in and how well they're honestly playing, it's amazing to watch. I think that's a success. Sure, Gucci, of course, wants to win it all. Everybody wants to win the number 1 faction, or apparently top 2 this year is good because either way you're going to get something for it. But the fact that Gucci is above corruption, the returning champs, is hardcore. But again, when I look at those screen grabs, I look at the dungeon and I look at their top 4 players and I go, wow, they should have 40 points. I look at corruption, I look at their top 4 players and I go, they're coming. Their top 4 players are just set and ready to go with Marisol, Collins, and the Kalinowski and Chance. 26 seems low when the season keeps going. And then obviously, like you said about the Den, they have an upside to them. I'm hoping they can go.
What are your thoughts, Chris?
To me, the Den was one of the bigger question marks going into the year, alongside the Exchange, because of the top 3 or top 2 that Kate had going into the draft, amongst us all those other picks. And we've only seen Riley once. We haven't seen Geralde, with the exception of the free-for-all. And that was one of her earliest picks. And we've only seen him once for a few rounds in the free-for-all, if that. So the Den, obviously the season's still young. We're not even halfway through this thing yet. So there's still a lot of points to be earned. But I don't want to say they're top heavy, but folks like Harper really carrying the load for them over there at the dungeon as of right now. And for Corruption and the Exchange, Corruption, it took them a while. They had a slow start. Oh, where did I see that from? Oh, yeah, last year. They started the same exact way. Real slow, but then once they found their footing, like Kalinowski just won the team's belt. All right, cool. They just won that, or the singles belt, or not singles, Intergeekdom. And they just won the tag match last night. All right, Marisol, she's about to get a damn number 1 contender shot against Kevin Smith. All right, cool. Chance is about to work his way up to Intergeekdom. Who's at the top of that? Oh, yeah, Mike. So it's looking really well over there for Corruption. And the biggest thing for the Exchange is that not only are they doing well with their mostly rookie team, they are costing other teams points by technically knocking them out. Like, that is nuts. They have how many TKOs? 8 with the one this past week?
I don't remember. I didn't record that.
It's a lot. It's a lot of TKOs. And the rookies, and I cannot agree more with what Dustin said. If they end top 3, they don't need to win the damn thing. But if they end up top 3 or top 2 by the end of the season, the rookie experiment worked. And the Finstock Exchange made so many more stars than anybody in any other faction with rookies on them. Just saying.
Considering that the Finstock Exchange ended up in 4th place, the Rockstars managed to overtake them. But as you can see, there's only a 9-point difference between 1st place and 2nd place. And there's only a 14-point difference between 1st place and 4th place. So, and 14 points, that's 1 month.
That's 2 title matches, baby.
Yeah, you can actually catch up really quickly. So this was definitely, the dungeon really did some work, but they left points on the table and people were able to pick up points, and now they're starting to catch up. So, but now
they might have a lot on their backs, on their shoulders the next month and a half.
Okay, well, let's kind of go on to the last 3. Now, the last 3 is what happens when you don't win the teams tournament. So Roxy had a big could have a big potential between 40 points and 8 points. They ended the month with 11 points. They only won 1 match, and that was the Zach Barrett match in Star Wars. That's only 1 match for the month. And obviously Janine came close both last week and this week, but it just shows you that she needs to start getting in the high gear. Now maybe she can actually work her magic in the second half, but she needs to start doing it now unless she's going to actually catch up. Swag, last month they broke even. They started at 6 points. They ended at 6 points. They did a little better. They gained to 9 points with a 17-point potential gain. But obviously, they just haven't been as good as they were last season. And finally, I I see this, and this is like the kiss of death. The usual suspects are in last place. They had a 20 potential gain for the month of May. They go down 2 points. They end the month at 7 points. And to me, this is like if you're on this faction, it doesn't mean that you won't win, but this is like the kiss of death for me. And that was the same way last month, is that they went down again. So what are your guys' thoughts on the remaining 3 factions?
So the stars, right? Well, let me say this right now. Like Swag, the stars, and the suspects, like they definitely have the talent to pick up points. They've just been put in some bad predicaments. It's not none of these factions are bad. None of them are bad. But when I look at the stars, to be exact, like there are a lot of folks who we just haven't seen in a minute. Same thing for Swag. Where has Chandru been? I know we're gonna see him in June, but Chandru played in February, and his next match isn't until June.
Right.
Like that, and that's one of your top 3 guys. Like we've had people like Ben Bateman play like 3 matches in a month. You know, it's like, and he's still gonna get more because he's multi-division, and maybe that's why he getting all these matches.
Yeah.
But the suspects getting all these, like I know they haven't had the best luck. That Whitnaben match was definitely not a great showing for the suspects at all. But they're having good performances. They're just playing better teams or teams that are playing better than them on that given day. And that can be said for all 3 of those factions. We're not even halfway through. I'm not ready to count anybody out. But these teams are going to have to put in work in the back half of the year to even try to get right back up to the Mercs, the Dungeon, the Exchange, Corruption, etc.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say. I know it shows on here, even just looking at the possible points with stars. I actually think of the bottom 3. I think Swag has the best opportunity to start making some noise in the second half of the season. I think looking at their roster, I really do think Swag has this ability to really move up in the ranks as it keeps going. I think with Andreyko and how the stars are going, and then overall with usual suspects lineups, I think you're going to probably see stars and usual suspects sitting pretty much where they're at. I think throughout the rest of the year, but I think keep your eye on Swag. I think Winston and everybody else can do it. So I really see upside there.
Oh, and hey, breaking news! I have Roxy Stryer on the phone. Hey, Roxy, what do you think about these numbers?
You had the sexiest numbers by far.
Thank you, Roxy. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You want to hear something funny? The mic wasn't on that whole time.
No way.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, wow.
So smooth.